Over the years, the great majority of humanitarian workers appeared to be protected from threats of attack. But over the years, this protection seems to be fading away. The humanitarian workers also face numerous challenges, including harsh conditions. Nimrod Taabu now shares the experiences of 3 aid workers in Dadaab who have had to go for months without seeing their families in order to serve and cater to thousands of refugees at the Dadaab camp.
So my name is Marco Gumo. I'm the Senior Advisor for Communications and Stakeholder Engagement.
My name is Jane Ambale. I'm the Senior Women Protection and Empowerment Officer. So I manage the Department of Women Protection and Empowerment.
My name is Virginia Njoroge. I have been with UNHCR here in DMO since 2011.
For several days in the county of Garissa, I spent time with some of the humanitarian aid workers, getting first-hand experience of how daunting their task is while serving and caring for refugees who have fled their home countries for various reasons. One would imagine that once they've arrived in the host country, the refugees are left to fend for themselves, but that is not the case. There are men and women out there who will go to any lengths to ensure the refugees feel at home. Virginia Njoroge has worked as a community-based protection assistant at the UNHCR Dadaab main office for 12 years now. She is in charge of coordinating assistance from other humanitarian organizations in Dadaab, a job that puts her right in the middle of the refugees every single day.
My work mainly involves working directly with refugees to address some of their concerns. This could be issues related to GBV, issues related to persons with specific needs, mostly older persons, people with disability, children. So basically that's what I do, and also coordinating those activities, because like I've said, we do work with partners, bringing all these services together so that we can be able to see the impact.
Her job begins as early as 5 a.m. when she has to respond to emails, designate jobs to others before she can go to the field, usually responding to emergencies in Hagadera, Dagahale and Ifo refugee camps. She first began humanitarian work in 2010 when there was an influx of refugees from Somalia.
Like when I really interacted with an influx was in 2011. We came to respond to the then 2011 influx, which gave birth to Ifo2 then. And I tell you that I was shaken, because the situation that we were facing at the time was that people were very hungry. They were coming because of drought, and they were really hungry. And some of them were so hungry they could not even sit down to go through an interview, like a registration process. Me thinking, like, what if this were me?
At the Dadaab main office, there are close to 17 humanitarian organizations which have to be coordinated for the sole purpose of offering the refugees the help they require.
So we've had those situations where a child comes unaccompanied, no family member, no relative in the camp, nobody, and we have to attach them to alternate family or alternate family care. In this place we call them foster families. So we attach the child to a family where they are actually brought up as part of that family. So they grow together, they mature. Some of them have even gone to universities from that, and that for us is a good thing to see that the community is able to take care of their own. Of course, we do give us a family, because as you realize, it's whatever little that we have is not sufficient in terms of them being able to take care of their own children and then an additional child. So we try as much as possible to give the required support, if it's maybe additional food where necessary.
For the refugees, getting to open up to the humanitarian workers remains a big challenge. Stigma coupled with language barriers sometimes can hamper coordination work.
If you could paint a picture to the rest of the world of how the refugee life is in a camp, what would it be like? Because a lot of people think these people get aid and therefore they're comfortable, they're satisfied. What kind of picture would you paint for them?
I wish that was the case. But refugees are people that, yes, they come desperate when they get to this camp, and when they're looking for assistance and when they're seeking support, they come very desperate. Is to try and remove them from that point of desperation and show them, hey, you can be able to build yourself and build your life and become somebody.
Mago Ngumo is meeting his team early morning and briefing them about the day's mission before they can head out to the field. Mago is a senior advisor and a communications expert. His work is to collect data and document information about the refugees. The information and data collected from refugees at the registration centers, relocation sites and food distribution centers is vital because it is relayed to partners across the Dadaab main office and across the globe for the donors to get a glimpse of what is happening on the ground.
So it entails identifying what interventions are needed in the community. It also looks at the kind of responses that we're giving if we're able to provide the much needed services that are needed by the community. It also involves taking the feedback from the community to implementing partners who are carrying out interventions to the community, and that's the refugees and the host community. So I have to work very closely with different implementing partners, some of them whom you've had a conversation with.
For almost 6 years now, he has watched as the refugee camps swell in numbers with the new arrivals. A phenomenon, he says, is difficult to comprehend, no matter how many years one has been involved in humanitarian work.
It's a lot of the pull factors that we're seeing that has actually brought about this influx has to do with the drought. And this is the whole global question we're facing around climate change. So these pull factors has brought these burgeoning numbers, right? And those are things that need to be addressed. Now, in terms of the services being offered, we have seen such a strain in terms of meeting some of those critical demands that are needed to take care of some of the interventions, be they spanning from health, from education, to livelihoods, to food assistance, and the resources are dwindling.
His work together with his team entails taking pictures, recording information, sometimes too personal and private for the refugees to share. But delicately and professionally, he has had to ensure that his team is not too intrusive and affords the refugees the dignity they deserve.
That is usually the largest challenge when it comes to documenting the crisis, because in as much as you want to show the desperation, you can't take advantage of the affected populations in their desperation. So, and then again, we know that donors are tired seeing the same old misery. So now the shift becomes, as much as we're showing a desperate situation, we need to bring in a story of hope and also how we can be able to enhance livelihoods for those affected communities.
Jen Ambale is perhaps one of the humanitarian aid workers who has had difficult experiences with the refugees, both male and female. She is the Senior Women and Empowerment Officer at the International Rescue Committee facility in Hagadera, and she has had harrowing stories from women crossing over from Somalia to Kenya. On this whiteboard, Jen and her colleagues have documented a number of cases of violence meted against women, girls and children while fleeing their country in search of food and peace.
First of all, someone who has migrated from another country coming here, one thing they don't have is information. The other thing they have is a sense of loss of identity. You've gone away from everything that you know, so they also lack that kind of support system. And some of the GBV cases that we encounter when we are responding are rape cases, sexual assault cases, physical violence cases, psychological abuse cases, harmful traditional practices like female genital mutilation, forced marriages, early marriages that are still being practiced in the community. So we receive cases that maybe someone underwent an incident in their country of origin en route or while seeking asylum.
For many women, especially victims of gender-based violence, it is difficult to disclose to a stranger about the injustice they encountered. More so because the perpetrators are family members, and some have remained on the other side of the border.
Our environment is such a way that it is welcoming, and someone, once they can just come in and share their story, and we can be able to help them. That is why we have the women and girls safe spaces. They're called women and girls safe spaces. They're spaces for women, run by women, for women.
It is for this reason that a women empowerment group has been formed in order to help women find hope.
Resources, they are unique in themselves. When we are working in programs where we are promoting empowerment, it's because we want people to be in charge of what the course of their own life. They've been affected by this crisis, but how do we give them back the power to be in charge of their own lives?
For the aid workers, sacrifice is what best describes their occupational duties. For many, this important job requires them to work under tight schedules, uncomfortable circumstances and environment. Some of them have not been able to see their loved ones for several months.
It's not been very, very easy, but as we're growing, my baby is now 7 years old. As we've been growing and we can talk to each other on the phone, we can see each other on video. She hassles me about, "Mommy, when are you coming home?" And I tell her, I try to be as honest as possible.
Giving the immediate interventions like food, education, those are very, very important. But social protection is what is holding the families together, the communities together, so they can be able to rely on each other.
Yes, it is a sacrifice. I'm a father. I'm away from my son for like months at a time, and when I go back, those moments now I start now even telling him about the work that I do. And I try and make as much as possible to make sure that, I tell him about the work that I do. I know he's young. He needs to understand the work that I do. This is some of the things that people are facing. And that gives you a grounded sense of realism. It gives your work so much meaning.
Nimrod Taabu, Citizen TV, Dadaab.